One of the things that I love about the ukulele is that, you can really, you can enjoy it on so many levels. You can be playing for 3 days and have so much fun with it, but you could also be playing it for 30 years, and and have that same kind of enjoyment and fulfillment. One of the main reasons I wanted to talk about technique was because, like James is such a technician with the ukulele. He incorporates a lot of, because of his background and where he comes from musically, he has all these great like claw hammer techniques and he's rooted in a lot of like Americana music and just so much great stuff. And it's so different from what I grew up listening to, being born and raised in Hawaii. So, I thought this would be just such a nice, workshop if we could just kind of compare and talk about, the different ways we approach, the same thing. Like, for example, when James plays, like, for example, if you were to play like a chromatic scale, right? Mm-hmm. Like I kind of grew up playing it with either my thumb and middle finger or thumb and index, and it would be like, I would.
And you're doing like
it was
going back
like
and forth.
either back and forth with these or this. Classical guitar players will do it this way. So, but just to get that kind of sound. Whereas James, I know he does like a muted.
Yeah, I could maybe. I grew up playing. At least when we did repeated notes like that, we would often do them with a pick, or with the finger, like a pick. Maybe with a little bit of palm mute or not. Or, but if they really get fast and you need to keep the melody going, there's little things that you can do to keep that tremolo. Because tremolo is one of the hardest things to get going.
Yeah.
The illusion of a sustained note when you don't have air to work with, that was always a big, or a bow, like we don't have that, and so I mean,
I used to try that with the bow when I was younger, because I was a big, I love Jimmy Page, and when I saw him with the bow on the electric guitar, I went out and I bought a bow, and the thing is, the rosin like destroys your instrument. So
I was just gonna say, I have an extra bow in the back if you want to.
That's the kind of technique that sounds good in pictures.
Yeah.
That's the extent of it,
And for me, strumming was always with the index and the thumb, right? And so if I were strumming, doing a downstroke, it would be with the index. And if I was strumming up, I could come up with the index again, or sometimes I would come up with the thumb, depending on the tone that I want to get. If it was more consistent, if I want a more consistent tone for the up and down stroke, I would use my index for the down, because then I'm making contact with my nail, the top of my nail. Then for the upstroke, I would use my thumb to come up. So again, I'm making contact with the nail. And if I wanted to use the insides of my fingers instead, I would come down with my thumb and come up with the inside of my finger, index finger. So you get two different sounds. This is like with the nail. And this is with the inside of the finger. So you have that kind of a brighter, contrast versus, using the more of the fleshy part of your fingers. And in James, you use a combination of everything, right? I mean, you use the.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do
a
lot of these two fingers. I mean, down with the finger, down with the thumb, up with, just like what you're talking about. But also I do a lot of the like Mother Maybelle Carter type of stuff where she's picking one note and then strumming a chord, and this kind of thing where you pick, strum, pick, strum, pick, strum, pick, strum. If that gets going smoothly enough and quickly enough, this illusion of kind of two people at once, right? A melody and a chord going at the same time.
That's nice.
So that's how I grew up trying to play in that style.
Yeah, it's great. It's such a great sound, and for me, it's so new, you know. And I think that's the cool thing, you know, is because of, you know, there's, like James was saying earlier, you know, there's so many ukulele players out there today, you know, leading the way in different genres of music. You know, he mentioned John King earlier, who was, you know, just an amazing classical, you know, classically trained ukulele player. You know, so he would take a lot of the Bach pieces, and he would take a lot of, you know, classical guitar arrangements and
Hawaiian music.
Yeah, and adapt them to the ukulele.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, back in Hawaii, we have, you know, legends, you know, the legends that we have back at home that really, you know, took this instrument and did all kinds of virtuosic things with it. You know, one of my personal heroes was a man named Eddie Kamai, who was like, you know, he was like, to me, he's like the Miles Davis, well, or like the Segovia of ukulele, you know, because back in the 50s, you know, he was the only one that was taking the ukulele and doing all of these lead things with it, or back in probably earlier than that, the 40s, but you know, but